The recent budget claims to raise around £40 billion in taxes, of which over £20 billion is coming from one of the main three. But what aspects will actually affect those of us serving in the UK Armed Forces? Hey everyone, and welcome to The Savvy Squaddie. In this video, I'll be going through some of the aspects of the autumn budget that might end up affecting you. On the 30th of October 2024, Rachel Reeves, the current Chancellor of the Exchequer, announced the budget which presents the government's plans for the economy along with changes to taxation and spending. The document is around 170 pages and the find function has been put to good use to navigate this beast. Here is a list of the topics I'm going to cover and time codes for each bit is in the description below. Feel free to skip to the parts that are more relevant to you. Right, let's get into it. Starting off with the commitment to not extending the freeze on the income tax and national insurance thresholds. In case some of you are unaware, we all get a tax-free allowance. This means we do not pay any tax up to that threshold. For most of us, that is £12,570 for both income tax and national insurance. You then pay tax on what you earn above that. The thresholds normally increase each year in line with the Consumer Price Index, meaning the value of your tax-free income does not lose purchasing power against inflation. However, in 2021 these thresholds were frozen by the Conservatives until 2028, and Labour have said that they will not extend the freeze, but also that they will not scrap it either. The technical term for this is fiscal drag, and it is a form of stealth tax. So, although the tax rates have not directly increased, inflation and wage growth mean more people will be pushed into higher tax brackets or even start paying tax altogether, effectively increasing the tax burden without changing the rates. Fiscal drag absolutely affects employees by reducing their real income as their wages grow. And now moving on to the biggest tax increase of them all, national insurance. But wait, I thought they said that they wouldn't increase national insurance contributions. And that is correct, at least partially. You may not know, but NICS is paid by both us, the employee, and our employer. The government have increased the employer national insurance contribution rate from 13.8% to 15%. They have also decreased the threshold at which employers pay it from £9,100 to £5,000. This is effective from April 2025. So, before the changes, an employer will pay around £3,570 a year in NICS for an employee who earns the median salary of around £35,000. After the changes, the tax charge will increase to around £4,500. Now, you do not need to be an economic genius to understand the indirect effects this will have on employees. Employers will need to pay for this increase somehow, and so they might respond by minimizing pay increases and bonuses, reduce hiring, increase prices of the goods and services that they provide, or other cost-saving measures which could impact employees' net income or job security. The public sector, of which we are a part of, is exempt from this change, but many of you will have partners, kids, and other family members who this will indirectly affect. Even the Office of Budget Responsibility acknowledges the indirect effects of increased employer NICS, but it is estimated to raise around £20 billion a year, and at the end of the day, if we do want better public services, then that comes at a cost from us in the form of taxes. I highly recommend the book Follow the Money by Paul Johnson. It's a simple read and it really opened my eyes to how much Britain actually costs. Next up, let's cover VAT on education and boarding services provided by private schools. So, from the 1st of January 2025, the standard 20% rate of VAT will be applied to private school fees, and it has been confirmed that service personnel are not exempt from this. However, it has also been announced that, ahead of the VAT changes on the 1st of January, the MOD and the FCDO will increase the funding allocated to the CEA to account for the impact of any private school fee increases. The recalculation of CEA rates is set to be published before the December pay run, meaning that claims for spring term 2025 onwards will be at the new rates. Sadly, because of the recalculation, that will see the parental contribution increase a bit as well. As of yet, I do not know any figures, but I believe that all those currently claiming CEA will be contacted to inform them of the changes. Moving on to pensions. Now, you may have seen this shared all over social media when some rumours were spreading in the media about potential changes to the tax-free lump sum you can claim when your pension is due. You'll be pleased to hear that this is not happening. For now, they are safe. But a change to the pensions that could affect you is in relation to inheritance tax. Currently, pensions are not included in the calculation of one's total estate, meaning they are not subject to inheritance tax. However, from the 1st of April 2027, they will be, and that includes both defined contribution schemes, which most civvies have, and defined benefit schemes, which is what we have. This means that when you die, the value of your pension will be added up with your other assets to calculate whether or not your estate will pay inheritance tax. If the value of your total estate is over £325,000 or £500,000 if you are leaving your house to a direct descendant, then anything above that threshold will be taxed at 40%. But if you are passing on your pension to your spouse or civil partner, then this can be inherited tax-free. A consultation is running between October 30th to the 22nd of January, and that will provide further information for us. Currently, inheritance tax is actually only paid by 4% of estates. The exemptions for spousal inheritance and the thresholds mean that most people do not pay it. The inclusion of pensions will bring more people above the threshold, but for the everyday person, it's not something to overly worry about. Next up, let's talk about buying a house. Changes here will affect both first-time buyers and those buying additional properties. Currently, these changes are happening in England and Northern Ireland. Scotland and Wales may soon follow. So, effective from the 31st of October 2024, stamp duty is increasing for those buying an additional property from 3% up to 5% on the purchase price of the property. I know many people in the armed forces own multiple properties as buy-to-lets, and those thinking of expanding their portfolio will be hit by this. But it doesn't stop there. Come April 2025, more changes are happening, and I will use a very handy table by Money Saving Expert to help visualise them. Currently, there is a stamp duty threshold of £250,000. This means you will not pay tax if the property you purchase is less than that, and providing it's the only property you own. Come April 2025, this threshold is decreasing to £125,000. This then means you will pay 2% stamp duty on the purchase price of the property up to £250,000. You can then see the different thresholds and rates on the table, depending on the price of the property you are buying and if it's an additional one. When it comes to first-time buyers, currently the threshold is £425,000, but this is also decreasing to £300,000 in April 2025. So, first-time buyers out there, just keep in mind you may end up paying stamp duty after April 2025. ISAs or individual savings accounts. Currently we are able to put in £20,000 per year into a variety of different types of ISAs. This £20,000 cap is remaining until April 2030. I think for the everyday person there's no great shake, most people don't manage to reach that cap. What is unfortunate though is that there is still no mention of scrapping the penalty fee on withdrawing your money from a lifetime ISA, or even increasing the price cap beyond £450,000 for first-time buyers. Last year, these LISA rules cost first-time buyers £1.8 million. The armed forces are exempt from the national living wage, however they do aim to keep the wage of a private in line with it. We saw this earlier in the year when the salaries of the most junior ranks received pay awards long before the rest of us in order to keep in line with the rise that happened earlier in the year. Well, in April 2025, another rise in the national living wage is happening, this time by 6.7% to £12.21 per hour. We will have to wait and see to see if this will translate over to the lowest levels next April like it did this year. From the 1st of April 2026, a £2.20 vaping duty will be implemented per 10ml of vaping liquid, and this is regardless of nicotine strength or flavour. I kind of feel for the previous CGS here. I mean, that man always had a vape in his hand. If he wasn't raising it for a salute, he was raising it for a vape. And finally, I'll cover the changes with capital gains tax. This won't apply to everyone, but many of us do own assets, and when we sell them, there is a potential we will have to pay tax on the gains that we have made. At the moment, you can earn up to £3,000 per year in capital gains tax-free. Anything above that will be subject to tax. From the 30th of October 2024, the lower rate increased from 10% to 18%, and the higher rate rose from 20% to 24%. What decides the rate you pay? Well, the size of your gain and what income tax band you fall into. You do not pay capital gains tax if you sell your main home, but you will pay it if you sell any additional properties. This is why investing via a stocks and shares ISA is extremely useful. Using an ISA protects you from capital gains tax when you eventually sell the assets held within. It's this tax efficient benefit which is why my ISA is going to be a main source of income in my early retirement. It was also mentioned that the Ministry of Defence will have a funding boost of around £2.9 billion. This will help fund those CEA recalculations, but it will also help the armed forces continue to play a leading role in NATO. And there you have it, the main takeaways from the Rachel Reeves autumn budget and how they may impact you. There are of course a bunch of other changes, and if you are that way inclined, I have linked the budget document below so you can have a gander. If I'm honest, it wasn't as bad as I expected it to be, but perhaps part of that was because the rumours that were spreading around beforehand had lowered my expectations. What are your thoughts? Was it as bad as you expected it to be? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all for watching. If you liked what you just saw, please hit the subscribe button up there, and if you want to see some more videos, click over there. See you soon.